Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that every single time. And what do I mean by that? I say that because I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. All right, we got Tuesday going on. Comments are going hard. I love it. YouTube is popping this morning, you guys. Bill McIntyre, good morning to you. Robert Cowton, I appreciate that, man. It was a really good week last week. It was awesome to be that busy, to say the least, man. Tracy St. Clair, good morning. DeCarla Schaefer, good morning to you. Papa Freight, Stephen Tittle, good morning. Corey Buchan, let's go. Watching over on LinkedIn. Sunny Sharma, good morning. Orange Shirt Gang. Jesus, Gil, LinkedIn made it impossible to get on this live. Uh-oh, gosh. Here we go. Jeffrey Weiss, what's up, brother? Jeff, I owe you replies. I got your messages and stuff, man. You just caught me at the wrong time when you reached out. Gabriella Sandoval, good morning. I appreciate that. I appreciate you tuning in, Gabriella. And let me see here. David Wade, good morning as well. All right, you guys. I love it. Comments. Yeah, we'll show LinkedIn what's up. All right. You guys keep showing up in these droves like this, and they're going to have to make sure that my stream is the clearest one that they possibly have. But anyways, you guys, we're here to talk about cash flow. I got a guest who's going to be coming on here in a second. He's been on the show in the past, but there's a lot of talk, in the industry right now. We're going to be breaking down more of that this week. But you guys, the importance of cash flow, preserving it, utilize, and how banks are tightening up credit and everything else. And, so we're going to talk about all that. So I thought, who better than to reach out and have my good friend, AKA the man, Mike Mikulik, to come on the show. Mike's working, you guys. Mike's working. He's nonstop. What's up, brother?
Well, today I'm working from home, but yes. I am still working.
That's the beauty of today's day and age, Mike. You can get this done from anywhere. As long as you have an internet connection and a cell phone, you're good to go.
Well, exactly. My cheat day today is working from home because I have a cleaner coming in because my wife's been away for 2 weeks, and I figured get a cleaner to come in and clean the house so it looks all perfect when she comes home and she thinks I actually know what I'm doing.
That, you guys, right there. Side note from Freight, veteran move from a married man. Have your house professionally cleaned prior to your wife coming home from a trip. I don't think that could end badly at all. I think, at least from my perspective.
Well, I couldn't find the toilet scrubber either, so that was part of the reason I had to go outward and outsource it.
Oh man, I love it. Oh, dude. So let's talk some cash flow, man. It's been a heck of a year. We were talking before we went live here, it takes a lot, right? And Robert kind of commented on this, and, he's also an agent with SPI, and that's where my brokerage is through. And, we had a really good week last week, right? But it took us 12 months of constant work to kind of get to that point to string that together where, I think last week we moved freight for 6 different shippers, I think. And, and now when we're looking out, this week and next week of pre-book freight and everything, we actually have loads on our board that are pre-booked out there. And it took a really, really long time to get there.
It is. It's not any, I think when we were going through the part where we had a major carrier shortage and freight was flying like crazy, that was easy. But I mean, you came in just at the tail end of the good, and you've had to work through the last year where it's been the challenge, and it's longer. It's a longer process now.
Yeah.
Shippers are a little bit more reluctant to try try new people, it's been a tough go. And that's where, when you go on your own, that whole mental game of, do I quit? Do I keep going? Do I quit? Do I keep on going? It's a roller coaster of emotions. And I've seen it with a lot of some of the new agents that have got into the agency model where, you know what, the emotions are real. It's tough.
Yeah.
But go through it, man. It'll happen.
No, I mean, that's exactly it. And I think like because like what's never really talked about though, Mike, is it's like you're putting forth all of that effort and then the money starts to dwindle in your bank account, right? Because a lot of people out there don't have investors. They don't have access to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, that they just have a golden parachute. They're out there putting in that effort. And then they have real decisions to make, right? Like they have families to feed, they have bills to pay, but like the beauty of where again, like when you're out there in the agency model, at least with my experience with you guys is that money, like I don't have to worry about cash, right? Because like it gets deposited every week. Like there's an itemized. Tanvi is secretly my favorite employee at SPI because she sends me my money every single week.
And she makes no mistakes either, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. But like, that's the beauty of when you go out there and you guys have, because you guys, I mean, essentially, yes, you guys are, the agency model, but you guys are a financial partner. You guys are investing in your agents and everything, but you guys make it seamless to get our money, right? And that's one thing that for those individuals out there who are grinding it out right now, you might, your days to pay might get extended from your customers, right? And then, or for whatever model you might be in with somebody else, but like, you don't have to worry about that with you. And, you and I were texting last week about this, cause like with us moving open deck freight, we had to find a cross dock facility, for example. And our customer, obviously they approved it ahead of time, but the cross docking and the crane facilities, they don't have net 30. It's net pay us right now, or we're not going to offload your stuff style thing. And that was another thing where it was no money out of my pocket. You guys jumped in, you paid the cross dock facility direct like that. And then it was, again, from a cash flow perspective, it kept my operating expenses in line because of where the services that you guys are providing behind the scenes right now.
That's it. It's interesting because, I mean, people who want to get in, and let's just take freight out of it altogether, but anybody who wants to start their own business needs to have cash flow. They need to have product. Then they need to go out and sell. They need to have software. Like there's a lot of upfront costs. Being an agent, there are no upfront costs. If you have a computer, you have a laptop, you're pretty much good to go. And you're betting on yourself. You're betting on yourself to get yourself going. And you don't have that financial risk. You don't have, if a carrier doesn't pay, if a customer doesn't pay, you're not stuck with that debt on it. That's on the agency, the corporate office to take care of that. So there's a lot of pluses. And then I think there's those other things you see along the way, like you just mentioned, like, all right, I got to pay this crane operator now. Well, that's cash too. And if that's all done right behind the scenes with the agency you're with, that's a huge bonus.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly it, right? Because it's like taking the bootstrapping route that I took with, the consulting work that I was doing there, and then like the media side of things, like, I didn't make money for 18 months, right? Like for 18 straight months, I did not make $1 at all. And a lot of that, is like the time of it. Like obviously my mentality is there's no better time than right now. Even right now, this day, there's no better time than today to start if you want to go out and do something. But going out from that bootstrapping route that I did, I know how, like, and then especially when you're coming up to the end of month, man, like, hey, I got $8,000 due on, January 1 in bills. I'm still owed 12 grand or 13 grand or whatever that looks like. And if that doesn't come in, if you don't have the capital in your, like, if you're not financially putting money aside into your operating expenses every single month to ensure your bills are floating, your payables don't care, right? Like that's a very real concern for a lot of people.
And the thing is, to try to scale your business under that model is tough. I mean, if you want to start going after some large accounts, well, guess what? They may say they're going to pay in 30 days. Reality is sometimes it's 60, 90 days. But if you want to scale your business into a multi-million-dollar business on your own, you need cash flow for that. Yeah. And then, obviously the more you put out there, then you got the risk of having some bad debt, and you get stuck with bad debt. That could sink a company pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then, we're seeing it already in the industry with some of the carriers and even some of the brokers going out of business. Banks are calling back on some of these loans. They don't have the freight to move on these brand new trucks and trailers that they bought last year at exorbitant prices.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk right now.
No, I mean, that's definitely it, right? Like because one of the hardest lessons to learn, I think, in business is financial literacy, Mike. It truly is, because you're out there, a lot of people are, your gross revenue versus your net revenue and everything else. And like, this is the importance of working with a CPA or, a factoring company or whatever that looks like. Shout out Denim. But like there's alternatives out there for people, and understanding how your money works. Like, that was one of the big things on, I'll use myself as two examples. I was able to purchase a home 2.5 years after starting my company because of the fact that I worked with a CPA and a bookkeeper. I had all my financials. I had everything. I had contracts in place, projected revenues that my loan officer could look at and be like, damn, even though this guy's only been in business for 24 months, he's a low risk loan because of the back office that we did. Same thing with, shout out to Angelo, my business partner in the logistics side of things. He handles all of our back office stuff. And with our rolling 12-month revenue and everything, we have a bookkeeper. We've done all that. We were able to get approved for a line of credit through our bank, Mike, because we were organized financially on the backside. i.e., you tie into those weekly deposits that come in from SPI, and they're showing that shows real revenue coming into our company. And banks are going to be able to look at that and say, hey, you guys are organized. And that was the big thing that stuck out from my two conversations, one with my loan officer for my mortgage on my house, and then the second one was on our revolving line of credit that we got from the bank. They both mentioned the fact that we were organized financially. That brought down any risk that they may have had about looking at our business from like the longevity of things. And they're like, hey, these guys are, they're at least organized. And if they're organized, we're going to bet that they're going to be able to pull through for us. That's
huge. Actually, that's good advice to anyone that's running it as an agent. I mean, it's not just a weekly paycheck of a commission check you're getting, but it's your physical business. Like, treat it like a business. Get your LLC, get everything set up the proper way and run it as a business.
No, and that's exactly it, right? Because you have to go into that. And especially if you're going to have partners in it for whatever reason, get everything done, get your operating agreement done first. I'm going to have Angelo, him and I might have to record a podcast on this, Mike, and put this out there about what we did. Because, we had our LLC, we had an operating agreement put in place. We had all of our back office stuff done prior to like getting out there and selling, and really building it up, because at the end of the day, it is a business, right? Like, it's not just a paycheck that's coming in. This is a business. This is something that you can leverage. Obviously it's an asset, you guys, and you can go out there and leverage that, because as banks become more and more selective on who they're going to lend to and how much that they're going to lend. And again, I'm no financial expert, you guys. I'm just sitting here from somebody who's actually in the trenches, who is securing funding from banks and who's doing this right now. Like, this is just what works out there, because this freight market that we're in right now, you guys, this will come back, right? This will be a thing. This is not just a lull in the economy. This shit will happen again, and you need to be prepared, right? Like, that's one thing that I want more people to realize, Mike, is it's like, yes, you need to operate in the right now, but you also need to think 18 months ahead or 24 months ahead, and like, where are things going to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was a key thing. You have some people that may have one or two customers that they've relied on through the good times, and they've done really well financially based on it. Now the market shrank a bit. So the volume's down. You got to constantly be evolving with sales. I mean, even though you're happy with what you have right now and it's keeping you busy, you got to have time set aside where you're targeting customers, because things change and they change quick. You don't want to be caught with your pants down and have nothing, because once you start trying to build customers when you need to, you got to give yourself 3 to 6 months before you start seeing the actual fruits of all that labor that you put in. So constantly have things going in your book of business, constantly deep sell your existing account base. You always got to have time put aside for sales and sales efforts.
Every single day, Mike, the first thing I do when I walk in every single day is I get that done right away, like that. Cause that's because for me, just like with a lot of people who are watching this, if you're actively moving freight or whatever that looks like, things can escalate throughout the day. right? Like all of a sudden you get sidetracked, and then it's the end of the day, you're worn out. You might have had fucking late trucks and everything, damaged product or whatever that looks like at the end of the day. And then you look back and you're like, I didn't get any sales done. I don't want to do it right now. And then then you justify it one day. And then all of a sudden, a couple of those days string together. And then you're like, well, I'm moving freight, so I'm good right now. And I want to, and again, I'm not advocating for anything wrong to happen for anybody, but I've been in a position before, you guys, where my trucks were on time, pickup, deliveries, paperwork, everything was good. They just pulled the business because they wanted to go in a different direction. They brought in new leadership, and they kicked out their entire existing network and brought in a whole new network of providers. Now, is this going to happen everywhere? No, but what if, right? Like, what if you're in that position? What are you going to do? What if that one account, like it's the Pareto rule, right? Or whatever it's called, that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your, however that works out. But there's a lot of companies who have all their eggs in one or two baskets, and they're one or two bad breaks away from losing all of that. And then your revenue drops 80% seemingly overnight.
Yeah. I mean, even see too, like even you may have a great account with a great contact who gives you, carte blanche on what you want to move. You know what? That guy leaves. You know what? You're starting from scratch. So the big thing with any account you have is diversify your relationships within that account. Know the operators, know his boss. Like, you got to expand that relationship. So when someone leaves, at least you have some people that you can go and talk to and still build your case as to why they need to keep moving with you. And set aside some time every day. To target on new prospects. And that takes a little bit of hard work and effort. And like you said, people can be worn out by the end of the day, but it's a must. Diversity, you have to be diverse in this business. You have to have a diverse account base in order to weather the storm.
No, I mean, that's exactly it, right? Like my whole thing is I have my set number every single day that I will hit from a prospecting perspective because of revenue, right? Like, that's where my focus is because we're looking to hire, right? Like, that's where we're going to go. We are looking to grow. We are looking to scale. I don't subscribe to a bad anything. I subscribe to the fact that I have to show up and get results every single day for my company. Cause I can't go back to my wife or my son and be like, sorry guys, we can't eat this week because it's hard out there and dad didn't decide to pick up the phone. I don't have that luxury. So I don't subscribe to anything other than I have my set of tasks that I accomplish every single day, no matter what, without fail. That's why I do it early on in the morning, because that's when I'm the most fresh mentally, right? Like, I'm a sick morning person. I get up early because I don't know. I've always been an early riser, but that's when I'm more mentally fresh. So I come in and I hit it out right away every single day. But I also set myself up the night before I leave, right? Like, I have everything. I have the list of the prospects that I'm going to go after that morning. I have everything laid out. So when I come in, I'm hitting the ground running right away.
Right. It's interesting because a new agent will come on board, trying to build a book of business. Well, guess what? 100% of his time is focused on sales. Then he gets a couple accounts while he's doing some operational work, and he's still doing sales. And as he gets more and more customers, what happens, right? All your time is spent on operational work, and there's little time spent on sales. And you did it to build your book of business. You got to keep on having these prospects and keep on plugging away at them. And think about it as what happens when things go sideways. Simple as that.
No, that's exactly it, right? Because especially if, I look at a lot of individuals, and again, I don't know the inner workings of a lot of these companies out there. I just see some of these companies, like, anytime a company either experiences rapid growth or rapid decline, as somebody who's a student of business, I kind of like to dig in and research a little bit, right? Like, what was it that happened? Because again, this isn't like a hobby to me. I'm looking to do this long term. I like to learn from other people's instances. And it's like, what is it? Is it mismanaging of cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it, because you get so dependent, like you were talking about there, Mike, and that's a prime example. You're getting, say, $20,000 a week coming in every single week without fail. And then you don't plan for a rainy day because you always think that money's going to be there. And, especially when you're early on in your building, like, man, I've been burnt for thousands of dollars because of my own ignorance early on in business, right? Because I thought, hey, a handshake agreement will work with me. Everyone will do what everybody acts like that. And they don't, right? And then all of a sudden, you get a $5,000 non-payment or a $7,000 non-payment that comes in. And then what are you going to do to replace that revenue? how are you going to work through that in those moments? What's your cash flow situation look like? Are you financially stable in those moments to kind of withstand a drop if somebody just decides to not pay?
Exactly. Well, I just read a statistic yesterday. It was on LinkedIn. I have it on my phone, but they said, and this is probably clearly, cash flow and just the market turning, but there was 88,000 carriers that went under in 2023 and 8,000 brokers. I just actually, it was staggering when I heard it. Actually, hang on here. I was going to flip it to you before because I took a screenshot of it. It was insane.
That's
But that
wild.
just seems high. But obviously
Yeah.
there are people that have, I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. It was a company called Carrier OK. And they said there are 88,000 carriers faced a tough decision to close operations. Roughly 8,000 brokers did too. That's insane if that's an actual true statistic. But
if that's essentially 8-1, that 8 carriers to 1 broker that went out of business this year, like that's, I don't know. I think that's a really, really telling sign. Because Mike, it's crazy to me because, breaking down a lot of these articles every single day, like I do, there's a lot of data that's out there, but there's a lot of data that is very subjective based on how the article is written, right? Like they're not even really telling the whole story about some of these companies that, are they going, how many, because like I always want to know when I see the FMCSA report a lot of this data, how many of those MCs that are going under had 0 reported revenue over the last 90 or 120 days?
yes.
Or how many of those MCs were people who just bought an MC because it's $300, like literally $300 to go buy an MC from the FMCSA. And how many of them just let that lapse, right? And never did anything with it, right? And I'm not saying that it's not tough out there and there aren't people that are, losing their businesses and stuff, but like some of this data is extremely subjective.
Oh, I agree. Right. But it's still the reality is, I think, when banks start calling in some of their loans or tightening up credit, guess what? If you're overextended, it's going to put you in a tough situation where you're going to have to make a tough decision too. So, I mean, in this market, it's cash flow it's king. I mean, they say that all the time, but in this market, cash flow is king, and you want to make sure your books are in order.
Yeah, no, but like that's the beauty of having something out there like from the agency perspective, right? Where it's like we can go in there and you can bring, because like there are so many people that are losing their jobs. I see it all the time, right? Like I literally, it seems like every day now there's a post about somebody who got laid off or some other company who's laying people off. And I can't stress this enough, you guys. There's never going to be a better time than today, right? Like when I was out of a job back in March of 2020, we all remember what was going on right there. I had no option but to make it work, right? And there's a lot of power in not having any other option. And there's a lot, and people are still hiring right now, so it's a little bit different. But like if you're in that position where you're like, I've been a sales rep, an actual sales rep for a long time, why don't you just go for it, right? Like the infrastructure's already there. The infrastructure is already there. You can bring, if you have a real book of business, if you're not afraid to sell, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to go out and start.
Yep. Good luck trying to start something on your own with a brand new, with a brand new business. No one knows you. You have no legacy to sell. You're starting brand new. I mean, some people will buy into it though. But I mean, you want to go in there with a company shippers are looking for it. They want to know, hey, how long you been in business for? How do you treat your carriers? They're asking all these questions. So I think it's a lot tougher for someone to come in there just bare bones. And then think about this, Chris, technology costs. I mean, you got to be heavily invested in technology. Now you got, carrier vetting that you have to do. You've got fraud you've got in the back pocket, or that's an issue. You've got double brokering. You have all these scams that are going out there. Like that's another cost that we never had a couple years ago.
Yeah, and if you're not trained up, because if you're not trained up on a lot of this stuff, right? Like, because I get asked that a lot for my Q&A show on Fridays, Mike. Is what technology do I need if you're bootstrapping it and everything else? And it's like, where do you invest your money, right? Like that's one thing. Because I'm always like TMS first and foremost, like have a TMS, but on top of that, if it's just like if you're out there. Do you buy a CRM or do you take that money? Because I think like the most effective thing right now is buy some gift cards and go run around locally. If you're going to spend $100 a month on a piece of technology that's not a TMS, the only technology you need is gas and gift cards and like go around and just meet local shippers, take that money and throw it right there. But you're right. Is, building the technical infrastructure of everything too is extremely expensive. And if you don't have that volume to be able to go in there, like your price per seat is exponentially higher early on until you can have 15, 20, 30 employees where you can lower your seat costs through that.
Yeah. I think that you're going to see a lot more shippers starting to really critique brokers on what their carrier vetting process is. I think, to a degree, they're kind of shielded from it because they want they rely on the broker to do this. But shippers, they're starting to see it as well too. And I think they're going to start critiquing brokers as to, what technology do you have? What vetting tools are you involved in to try to alleviate, double brokering or to try to alleviate fraud? And you know what? If you don't have it and you have to buy it, that's a huge cost.
Yeah, I think it's shout out broker carrier. We got your back.
There you go
on that one. But it's Kyle brought up I think he said was true about the 88,000 DOT numbers that when active. That doesn't necessarily mean that 88,000 carriers went out of business. Most of the time, it's someone who filed a DOT number and then never commenced the business. So kind of like what we were talking about having that data laid out there clearly about what do those numbers look like. But no, man, I think you're right, Mike, because it's going to boil down. It's a lot more that, and you talk about insurance. Carrier vetting is one thing, but like you talk about insurance alone. Do you have, I would say, this is no insurance friend of mine that's telling me this, but do you have about $15,000 to $20,000 a year to spend on insurance for your operation? Because that's like kind of where it's at. It's like $1,500 a month for, depending on the cargo policy that you want to get, because that's another thing too. A TMS and insurance, those are the two things. Yes, as a broker, insurance is not required by law, but if you want to work with a real shipper, you better have cargo insurance. You better have liability
for it now. They're
100%.
And they should. I think, we're going to see a lot more shippers become like I said, like I mentioned before, they're going to start critiquing brokers more than they ever have in the past. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that those who have, a TMS, have proper insurance and have proper carrier vetting tools should be selling that to their shipper. They should be educating their shipper on what's really going on in the market, how it's even affecting them, and the tools they have in place to alleviate this, or at least to mitigate it as best as possible.
No, that's another thing too, to talk about, because we move some high value freight, right? Like we don't just move $100,000 pieces, and we're able to go through the insurance department at SPI and buy additional insurance all the time. And it takes 38 seconds. Well, 38 seconds is I'm making that
38 cents and 38 cents and 38 seconds.
But it's literally just quick like that, right? And it's like where else, because when we're talking about these real things, you guys, because these are real issues that you are going to face in building a business, right? Like this isn't you guys don't tune into the show because I sugarcoat shit. This is the reality. If you are going to go out there and start your company, it is a lot more expensive than anybody ever wants to advertise early on. But there are infrastructures in place currently where you can take that book of business and you can get up there and start selling today, right? And then like the cash flow perspective of things too, right? Because it's like, again, here's one thing that if you're going to go out there on your own and do it, you have to collect all that money. And then again, you have to pay your carriers in 30 days and your customers might not pay you for 60 or 90 days. Do you have the capital to withstand that, right? So again, and it's not that this can't evolve and grow out there, but there are, I don't know how many DMs I get from people, Mike, or talk to people all the time. I want to start my own business. I want to do my own thing. Okay, great. Like, but what's your plan? Mm-hmm. They don't have a plan, but there are options out there for people.
It's interesting. That too. You have to have your plan. And how much lead time do you have? Like if you think you're going to build it and you're going to be making a ton of money in 2-3 months, I mean, you know what? Gosh. Reality is give yourself a little bit longer than that too. So do you have, because that's when most people give up. I'll be honest with you. Most people give up in 2 to 3 months when it doesn't happen. And you know what? You're building a regular business, whether you're doing roofing or whatever, that takes time to build too. So give yourself that time.
Yeah, no, it's that you need to give yourself time. And then again, you need to stash cash, you guys, because I'm going to be honest with you, as you level up revenue wise, you guys, there are certain tax things that can happen. And if you have the cash to pay for it, it helps deal. I'm not the biggest fan of taxes. I mean, everybody, there's no denying that. But, like this year, for example, and I know we got to wrap up here because it's already been 30 minutes. But this year, for example, I paid my 2022 taxes and my 2023 taxes all in this year because of that, because I want to prepare myself for the future. So again, cash flow is everything, you guys, and you can lower your risk and everything that's out there. But that's it, Mike. How does anybody reach out to you? Besides, if you guys need to get a hold of Mike, you guys can hit me up. But
email me. Email me is the best. It's I'll give you my email, mmikulik@spi3pl.com. Shoot me an email. I'll be happy to talk with anyone.
I love it.
30 minutes is not enough, We could keep on talking.
I know. Dude, we can do this all the time, Mike. You know that.
I know. I appreciate it.
You guys. But hey, we'll be back tomorrow. I got more guests coming on this week because, again, we're just going to keep bringing the education for you guys. And as always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. That's how we help more and more people and reach them, is because if you see value, your network will see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.